you tired all of the time? Do you find yourself thinking, what is the point of doing any of this? Or perhaps you're trying so hard to do things that you think maybe you're just not meant to be doing with your life. Maybe you're burnt out. Guess what? Me too. Let's talk about it. Hi everyone, I'm Sam and welcome to my channel. On this channel, I am all about self-care in all of its facets. And one of the areas that I choose to focus on is emotional self-care. Emotional self-care is not just about the way you feel, but about the way your feelings make you feel about everything else. Burnout is one of those really interesting topics that seem to take from a lot of different areas of self-care, because you can burn out at work, you can burn out at home, you can burn out in yourself. But I tagged it under emotional because really when you're burnt out, there's a lot of stuff going on up there that is really impacting all of the areas of your life. So in this video, we are going to talk about burnout. What is it? How can you recognize the signs? How I have noticed burnout in my own life, and some things you can do about it. And if you stick around to the end, I will tell you all about the experiment that I'm running on myself this week to try and combat the effects of burnout. So burnout is categorized by three main facets. The first one being exhaustion. This is not just tired. This is so far beyond tired. Everything is an effort. It takes so much energy for you to just exist in the world that it can be really difficult to imagine pushing yourself any further than you already are. The second criteria is cynicism. This is that general feeling of what is the point? Nothing's gonna work out for the best. Even if you try your hardest, you're not going to succeed. Being cynical about the world in general can really put a bit of a curtain over your eyes as to the way you see things, not just situations that you're in, but the way you see yourself. Lastly, there's this sense of inefficacy, which is basically that you aren't qualified or aren't capable of doing the things that you're trying to do. This is often felt at work. You don't feel like you're capable of doing the jobs that everyone expects of you. And this is one of the places that burnout can become really apparent quite quickly. So I am currently suffering from a little bit of burnout. It's been brewing in the background for a while, but if you're aware of yourself and the way that you normally operate, sometimes you can become aware of other things that are starting to creep up that lead you to think, actually, maybe I'm not coping with things as well as I thought I was. So for me, my number one is exhaustion. So we've talked about exhaustion being so far beyond tired. It's bone weary. It is way down in your soul. You do not have the capacity to function at a level that you normally do. And the thought of doing everything that you have to do in a day is tiring before you even get out of bed. And that is how I know I'm burning out. Procrastination is another massive thing that I have noticed creeping into my life lately. So as well as running a household, running a couple of kids, I'm also studying because I'm crazy and figured I wasn't busy enough. So when you study, of course, you have assignments and projects due dates looming, and I just cannot motivate myself to get these things done. The due date gets closer, I get more anxious and more panicked, but I cannot summon the will to push myself to make these things happen. One of the ways that I cope with my emotions is by eating. I've talked about it a little bit before in previous videos. Emotional eating is something that I am working on in therapy because it's not the way I want to live. It's not the kind of life I want to model for my family. But when I find myself going to the cupboard and grabbing some chips, and then when they're done, going back and getting some biscuits or going and getting something else, it's that continual pattern of going and reaching for more things when you are completely full. That is definitely a big sign for me that there is something going on back there, because I use eating as a method for coping when things aren't so great. Another one is the housework piling up. So my partner works long hours, I'm a mum of 2 young girls, there's always toys underfoot. But when the dishes start to pile up, and the clothes that need to be washed, and the bathroom that needs to be cleaned, and so on and so forth, it can seem really overwhelming, especially when you're tired or that bone weary feeling. Trying to summon the energy to wash dishes can feel impossible. And it's one of those things that has to get done because everybody in your household needs to eat. So you can't just walk away from these responsibilities. These are things that have to be done that you really struggle to make happen sometimes. What it boils down to for me is that I have a lot of responsibilities in a lot of different areas, and somehow I seem to be not succeeding at achieving any of them. Now, that's not just because I have extremely high standards for myself, things that I really want to achieve, things that I am pushing myself to do every day. I also know that if I embrace the way that I am feeling, and I continue to feel bad, and what's the point? And I'm not qualified to do any of this anyway. Let me know if you have ever said any of the following. I am not smart enough to do that. I don't have the time because I am too busy with everything else I have to do. I am so tired I cannot even think about doing yet another task. Any of those sound familiar? Let me know in the comments, because I say those maybe every week. Okay, so you've identified that you either are burning out or in the process of getting to a burnout. Now, that is a really advantageous position to be in, because not only are you feeling the feelings and feeling the effects of being burned out or being on the path to burnout, but you've identified it. Identifying it is the first step, because if you don't know what's happening, you can't do anything about it. Now that you know, you are in the best position to do something about it before it gets so out of hand that you can't recover without some really serious help. So here are some things that you can do to help combat those feelings of burnout when you feel them creeping up. The first one is set some goals. Goal setting has a really great effect on your brain because it gives you a project to work towards. Now, this goal does not have to be huge. It could be something small. It could be wash every dish that is sitting on the sink. That is an achievable goal. It's small, but it doesn't matter. It's not about the size. If you can do that one thing, it could take you a day, it could take you a week to get rid of everything that's up there. But if you can do that, big tick, you have achieved a goal. When you are burning out, you feel like there's no point, I am no good at this, I can't do it. As soon as you achieve your first goal, no matter how small, you have proven yourself wrong. You now have proof positive that not only can you do this, but you are doing this. Another thing you can do is aim for non-zero days. I've spoken about non-zero days before on this channel, and I'll link a little video up where I go into more detail. But basically, non-zero is literally about doing more than nothing. So if your goal, or let's say my goal, is to write a paper that hasn't been started, you don't sit down and try and write the whole paper. You try and write a word. You try and read a research paper. The same with the dishes. You don't go there with the aim of doing every single dish on that sink. You aim to wash up a bowl or some forks or whatever. And you chip away at this goal by doing small pieces and doing more than nothing. I have found non-zero days so helpful, not just because it does actually help me achieve the things that I want to do, but it also helps me change my mindset around that idea of success and achievement. Because normally when we talk about people who are successful, they have these amazing lives with all of these things that they're trying to do. But when your goal is to wash dishes, you feel like, oh, that's not a very big goal. I can't be successful with a goal that small. But no, you can, because your idea of success is achieving the goals you set for yourself, no matter what they are. It's not about anybody else's goals. It's not about what somebody else wants for you. It's about the things you want for yourself. You can also try reassessing your self-talk. So when we talk about that cynicism of what's the point, or that inefficacy of I'm not suited to do this, a lot of that is also mindset. Now, I am the queen of negative self-talk, and I have been working so hard to change the way I talk to myself, because really, when you're laying in bed at the end of the night, this is what you listen to. And if the last thing you think about before you go to sleep is, God, I suck. Why am I doing this? I'm never going to achieve anything. That's like a loop that you play in your mind all of the time. You listen to that and you can't switch it off. So what can you do? You can change the channel. Listen to something else. Even if you don't believe it, that's fine. That is the best part about things like positive affirmations or positive self-talk. You don't even have to believe it, you just have to listen. And the more you say it, the more you start to believe it. So it's one of those little techniques that seems maybe a little hokey, but once you actually start doing it and changing the way you see yourself, it really does have an impact on the way that you function. You can also ask for help to lighten the load. Now this could be really basic, like if you live with someone, sitting down with them and saying, I am struggling, I need help with X, Y, Z. Please help me figure out how we can lighten this load. Because you don't have to suffer alone. If you are burning out, reaching out and talking to somebody about the help that you need, or even about the feelings that you're having, can instantly change the way that you feel, because all of a sudden you're not doing this by yourself. If you are able to talk to somebody about the way that you're feeling and it helps, great. If you start doing all of these things and either you're exhausted and it's not possible, then it's time to seek other help. And I always advocate get thee to a therapist. Not just because I'm a psych student and I can see the benefits of therapy. Therapy does not mean that you can't function in the world. It doesn't mean that you're broken or that your brain is broken. It means that you need help. And that's their job, to help you. And if the first one doesn't work, go and find another one. Therapists are as individual as people because they're people. So if you aren't clicking with someone, you'll probably click with somebody else. Don't give up on therapy because you had one or even 3 or 4 bad experiences. If you need help, don't let the fear of not clicking with someone stop you from getting the help that you need. And as for me, well, I'm trying something different because I've got goals. I have reassessed the way that I talk to myself. I'm still working on it. But all of these things that I've just mentioned, I'm already doing, especially therapy. Very important. I wanted to try something different. So this week, I'm trying a little parenting experiment. So as I've mentioned before, I have 2 kids and one of them is almost 5. I caught myself going to the pantry for like the 3rd time in a row the other day, and I had a thought of, would I accept this kind of behavior from my daughter? Would I let her snack on chips and then lollies and then more chips? No, because that's not good for her. Would I accept her staying up way into the early hours of the morning watching TV or playing games on her phone? No, I would not, because she needs to sleep. She needs structure and scheduling and understanding so that she can grow into a healthy human being. So if I wouldn't accept those things for her, a person who I, along with my husband, am responsible for raising, why would I accept that behavior for myself? The things that I'm doing aren't healthy for me. They're not helping me. They're in fact making my day-to-day worse. So why am I accepting that kind of behavior? I don't know. It's a great question. So this week I decided I'm not going to. I am going to parent myself this week. I have set bedtimes. I have set chore lists. I have set tasks that I want to achieve and when. And I'm going to parent myself the way I parent my children, because I deserve the same love and care that I give them. And the self-talk that I give myself, oh, if I spoke to my daughters the way that I speak to myself, I would be a terrible parent. I don't want that for them, and I don't want that for me. So if you're interested in the results of that experiment, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss it, because it's going to come out next week, and I'm going to be very interested to see what happens to my life when I try parenting myself like I parent my family. Now, question of the day, I want to know, have you been burning out lately? Do you feel the effects of burnout? And if you do, what kind of side effects do you notice from being burned out? I would love to hear about it. I know that everyone's lives are different. It's one of those things where you just kind of wonder, am I the same as everybody else, or am I secretly a little bit different? Let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye! Therapy just gives you tools to then use in your life, and you know, dogs. Rude. Oh no, it's the postie they're barking at. All right then. Forearmed. Forewarned is forearmed. I think that's the saying. I think it's forearmed is forewarned. I should probably check on that.